Hey, welcome back to another episode of Turok the Dinosaur Hunter. In this one, we're going to do level 6. The Treetop Village is actually one of my favorite levels because, like, the music in this level is very, like, you know, coming down to the wire. Like, this is the part of the level, or part of the movie where, they're starting to storm this isn't the level where you start to storm the final boss's area, but it feels like this is like we're getting all of our stuff together and getting ready to like storm the final area, you know what I mean? Also, in between, oh, watch out, that guy's got guns. Also, in between the last episode and this episode, I don't know how noticeable it is. It sounded like it to me, but I did get another microphone and I did some tests with it, and I tried to like figure out like get it set up exactly the way I needed it, you know, so hopefully it's not crazy or sounds strange or too off, you know. I'm certainly not like super great at any kind of audio like mixing or anything. I'm still new at it, but I'm getting better and better, I think. And or at least I'm trying to get better at it. And I felt like because I've been doing this for a year, you know how it is. I've been doing it for a year. It felt like time to get, you know, get a new microphone. I think I said in the previous level that like it's actually a pretty slow burn before you get your first key in this level, so you don't have to really worry about missing them unless I'm just misremembering. Because I'm pretty sure we don't start getting keys until we get to the Treetop Village, which is what the level is, you know, about. But yeah, just to finish up what I was saying, I have gotten a new microphone. I was playing around with it to try to make sure that like it sounds decent, but I'm just gonna have to keep playing around with it if it's not perfect or not as perfect as it possibly can be by my ability. So, you know, just bear with me a little bit. But yeah, so this is the 6th level, which like there's 8 levels in the game, so we're, you know, we're about like almost like 3/4 of the way through the game by the standard of levels. But they do get a lot longer. Like level 7 is pretty long, but if you just go and do what you need to do, it's not really that long. And level 8, what makes level 8 long, because you don't have to collect anything in level 8, you can just go straight to the end, because the last piece of the Chronoscepter is right at the end. So the thing that makes level 8 long is how confusing it is. See, there's something over there, but isn't there like a warp down there? Yeah, do I want to go down there, or I'm going to go over here. I think I'm supposed to jump in that hole, but I want to come over here. See if I can find anything worthwhile. So where do I go from here? There. Kind of working our way down to a certain like platform. It has a warp on it. I think there's multiple ways to get here. I think it's around here somewhere. You start seeing like the little spikes. I don't think the spikes can do anything, but this is what we're looking for. But yeah, so this this level is, like I said, not very long. Most of them haven't been that long. It's really just been like running around and finding stuff. And one thing about Turok 2, I will say is that like a lot of the levels are a lot longer in Turok 2, but that's just because a lot of them are really, you know, they're a little harder to like navigate, in my opinion. Why didn't it switch from the back from the knife? I don't know. A lot of them are a little more difficult to navigate because of like, you know, just how open they are, and there's so many different directions to go, and you know, there's a lot of things hidden around in this game. It's more along the lines of like item, like weapons and I don't think I think there's just tech armor up there, and I don't need those Triforce pieces, so I don't want to waste the time trying to get them. So Turok 2, there's a lot of like running around just trying to find like keys and stuff you need to progress through the game, where in this one there's a lot of things hidden around, but they're like weapons and ammunition and like stuff like that. It's not really something that you absolutely need to progress through the game, where Turok 2, you know, that's not the case. Like, you're gonna hit a point where it's like, I don't have a certain item, and it's like, oh well, that's too bad, you better run back through the last 4 levels and see if you can find it. Or like there's where, let's see what else, there's like, you know, this one level where you enter into the caves and there's a bunch of spiders and stuff. That level's really obnoxious because it's very easy to get lost. But what I really love about this level is, especially once we get up here to the treetops, is they start adding like thunder in. And there's a dinosaur there. I don't think we can do anything to it. I'm not 100% sure if that's on the N64 or not, or if that's just like the PC version. But only 10 rounds. As I was saying, you know, the spot with the in the cave with the spiders and stuff is like really easy to get lost. And also the thing about Turok 2, the enemies in Turok 2, is that the enemies in Turok 2 are like bullet sponges. Like, they take like 1,000,000 hits. And it's not one of those things where it's just like, oh, well, you just have to use a specific weapon. You know, one weapon works better over another. It's not really like that. It's kind of just like, you know, they just take 1,000,000 hits. This weapon is the alien weapon. It kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. So you fire it and it explodes kind of like that, but it takes like too much ammunition and it doesn't do enough damage for that. And I'm pretty sure, by the way, every time you know, if you have to get up to 99 lives again after like you've done it the first time, it's always going to tell you that that cheat has been unlocked. So if I died again and like got 99 Triforce pieces again and got up to 9 lives and then got another 99, it's always going to tell me that it's unlocked after I've like hit it, even though, you know, even though it's already been unlocked. I don't know why it does that, it just does. But anyway, yeah, like, so like I was saying about levels, just to finish up talking about Turok 2, like, the levels in Turok 2, they are pretty confusing. Like, the first time I played the game, I turned the waypoint markers off because they're not in the N64 version. Because I played it, ouch. I played it on modern ports of it. Like, I did play the N64 version. I didn't get very far in it. But I've played on modern ports, and I turned off the waypoint markers and I couldn't find anything. It was like, it took forever for me to get through the game the first time because of like getting lost trying to find stuff where the waypoint markers just show you where everything is, which kind of feels like a band-aid. You know, this is a band-aid. This is how we fix the fact that like we kind of made it hard to navigate to begin with. There's not a whole lot of stuff here. There's just like ammunition and health and stuff. We haven't hit the point, I don't think, where you get the first key yet. Like I said, you don't get the first key until you get to the treetops. They're all gonna be pretty like straightforward. It's not like necessarily gonna be hidden, but you know, at the same time, like, you know, you can kind of miss them. I can't remember. I think the first one, because we need the ones for level 7, and then level 7 has the last two for 8. And those are 100% straightforward. The Chronoceptor piece is right literally at the end of the level. Like, it's kind of like how the last key at end of level 2, where you have to like not go into the you don't want to go into the exit yet. It's kind of a lot like that. I think I'm gonna go this way first. I think it's just to like some ammo and junk, but like Perlin just stood there and took it. Yeah, it was just to some tech arrows. See, like, a lot of this stuff, like I said in, I think episode 1 or 2, like, a lot of stuff, if you just go and do and you don't run around, like, you end up leaving a lot of ammo and stuff everywhere, so if you end up needing it, like, by the end of the game, I think once you enter level 8, you're stuck in level 8, so if you need it before then, it's a good idea just to run back and grab stuff. I probably won't do that because I don't think I need to. I think that's the way. Yeah, I think that other way is the way forward. Or is it this way? There's two of these guys here, so why are they here? Two Wizards of the Coast. Protecting a full health. I don't need to go into that because I did both of those bonus rooms already. Or I did one of the bonus rooms, and the other bonus room was just like for Triforce pieces. So I don't feel the need to like go back in there, you know? But I think we're about half. Oh, there's the first key. I told, like, there's the first key. And just to, you know, to show you on the thing, it should be the first one, yeah, lit up. Or it shows the last one lit up, but it is the first one you can get. I don't know why it's done like that. Maybe it's to confuse. But there should be a way to... Oh, I think that one way that was blocked off should be open now. I don't know if you noticed it, but there was a spot where there was like a bunch of like wood pillars that kind of blocked the way. You see where these purlins are? Like, I don't think it opens until you can get the key, you know? So like right over here where this guy is. I'm gonna play Ring Around the Tree. It's almost like Pop Goes the Weasel, except in reverse, you know what I mean? So yeah, like, this level is pretty linear if you just go through it and do what you're supposed to do, which that's all the Turok 1 levels. I think if you've never played the game before, it's a good, like, you know, if you've never played the game before, I probably should have mentioned this sooner. But like, it definitely is one of those things that it's worth playing blind, because like, if you don't know where anything is, it's really nice because, you know, it's really nice because you don't, you know, you have to explore and find things. But we gotta go down here, get some ammo and stuff back. Oh, full minigun ammo. Well, that did a lot, didn't it? Shotgun, I guess. I think the way forward is the way to go, and then these are just like to health and stuff, isn't it? Campaigner soldier shooting me in the face. See, that 25 health, I didn't really need that 25 health until that campaigner soldier shot me in the face, which is kind of going back to what I was saying about like sometimes exploring in the game. It's fun to explore in the game, but like exploring in the game can actually cost you resources. Because once again, I didn't need that 25 health until he shot me in the face. So it was almost like, we're going to punish you because he's going to shoot you in the face immediately, but then when you get rid of him, you'll get your health back, kind of deal. I was just thinking, for some reason this level is starting to make me like think of like Evil Dead Hail to the King. I used to have a copy of the game. I played through it once upon a time. I wish I still had it because I'm kind of wanting to play it now, and I kind of wouldn't mind playing it for the channel. It might be one that I get back. There's also Fistful of Boomstick. But I don't remember if I've ever talked about it before, but Fistful of Boomstick has such a really bad motion blur on the camera that it's the only game that has ever made me feel motion sickness. And that kind of sucks, but like, I mean, it was a fun game. The only thing that sucked about the camera, other than the motion blur, is the fact that like, I'm dodging that guy, by the way, because he takes way too many hits to kill. And it would just be better to run past and conserve ammo, in my opinion. But Fistful of Boomstick, you know, motion camera blur making me nauseous really sucked. But also, it's one of those games that for some bizarre reason they decided that like pushing left on the control stick makes the camera turn right, and pushing right makes it go left. I don't know who came up with that idea. I think inverted controls are already bad enough when it's like up and down, but also left and right. Like, that's weird. The only other game that I can think of off the top of my head that does that also sucks because of like, the game itself is great. It's one of my favorites in the series, but the camera sucks, is Wind Waker on GameCube. I don't know if they fixed it for the Wii U port, and I don't know if they'll ever, you know, report it. We're just run past this guy because we're going to jump off a cliff here in a second. And he won't follow us. But anyway, so Wind Waker, which I think is my favorite, or one of my favorites in the Zelda series, at least my favorite 3D Zelda, quickly followed by Ocarina of Time, but I mean, it was the first Zelda we owned. I did play Link to the Past first because my cousin had it and I played it at their house. But like, you know, A Link to the Past was my first Zelda, but Ocarina of Time was the first one we owned. And isn't there like a... Yeah, here we go. Basically just came over here to get full health. I had spiritual invincibility, which I think... Did it end up restarting or something? No, I don't know. It sounded like I got something like that again. But, yeah, so of course Ocarina of Time is going to be one of my favorites because of how much I played it growing up. I mean, I know the game pretty much like the back of my hand. And, know the game like the back of my hand. I've 100%ed it like a million times. Kind of deal. And I'm going to play it at some point. I just don't know when. I kind of want to play A Link to the Past before I play Ocarina of Time, because like Ocarina of Time is a prequel to A Link to the Past. And Link to the Past is a prequel to the original series. And as I've expressed before, I would really love to play Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. The Adventure of Link, but for some reason, there's somebody that runs around copywriting the music to that game, even though they don't actually own the rights to it. I think it's because they sampled it in one of their songs. They sampled the Palace theme. So I'm not very good at Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. I just really love the game, and I think that it gets a bad rap, but I think people are starting to realize that, like, that it doesn't deserve the hate that it gets, and that I think a lot of people are starting to realize that I think a lot of people who hated on it, who've never played the game, were just memeing on it. And public opinion is shifting. Ouch! Get out of here. That, like, a lot of people who were, you know, a lot of people who were talking shit on it were just memeing and not actually, like, had actually played the game, and they just echoed the same sentiments about, oh, this part of the game sucks because of this reason, and it's like, it's really not that bad. It's really not as bad as it's made out to be, and there are remedies within the game itself that, you know, fix a lot of those aspects that make it kind of like obnoxious. Like, yeah, you don't get to, if you game over, you have to go back to the start of the game and traverse all the way back to the palace you were in. But like, the more into the game you get, the faster you can actually go through the world because you get shortcuts. It's not ideal. It should have just been you start back in the palace, but I don't know what the reason was for that, as to why they didn't have it do it like that. But it's like, it is what it is, you know? Like, there's no going back and fixing it without remaking the game or intentionally changing some part of the program to fix that, which might break something else in the game. Who knows? It just depends on how it was programmed. So, you know, it's hard to say, really. Let's see. I think there's a way over there if we just keep going. If not, we can get one of those later. It's a rocket launcher. But yeah, so like I was saying, I think that it gets some hate that it doesn't really deserve, personally. I know I'm not the only person who thinks that way. There's been a lot of sentiments. Like, I didn't grow up playing the game either. Like, I've had my struggles with the game, but like, I have actually gotten good enough at the game that I've actually completed it twice. So, and that was with like a decade of like playing it little by little to get good enough at it to actually like beat the game, you know what I mean? And I actually think it's it's, you know, because it's a sequel to the original, it doesn't really matter if you want to talk about the grand scheme of Zelda, but like considering that they allegedly, I don't know how true this is, you know how it is with a lot of developers where they make a terrible decision in continuity, and then it's like they have to come up with a reason why it's not a bad decision. Like in Ocarina of Time, you know, they claim that they, even when they first did Ocarina of Time, here's the second key. The third key should be out in the open if we just keep going. But in Ocarina, you know, they claim that Ocarina of Time, they intended this, that they made like time, like different time lines, because it was like, you know, it's a situation where you're in the, you know, you go back in time or you go to the future and you create different timelines, and there's a timeline that accounts for if Link fails and stuff like that. And it kind of felt like to me that it was just kind of an excuse, because I never really cared about the Zelda timeline apparently as much as everybody else did, because when I was growing up, and I cannot remember where I heard this. I don't know if me and my sister made it up or if we actually heard it or read it somewhere, but like we were under the impression that each Zelda game was supposed to be a, you know, looked at as like a myth or a legend, in the sense of like, you know, it has each game is basically like the retelling of the same kind of legend, you know, where you have like Zelda and Link and like Ganondorf for the most part, not always, but it's like, you know, this is what would happen if this original legend was taken to this region of the world and people were telling it, kind of deal, or like years later it's a retelling or something like that. And like that's kind of how we interpreted it for years, and I don't know if it's because somebody told us that's how it was, or if we just kind of like made that up ourselves, that it was like, you know, well, some legends, some stories, some myths are literally you know, as they get told, elements change. And by the way, as you already probably saw, like I got the last key, so all that's left is the Chrono Scepter piece, which is like, you know, literally at the end of the level, so we just got to keep going at this point. But yeah, so that's kind of how we always interpreted it. And honestly, that's kind of how I prefer thinking about it, is like, oh, you know, each game is really just like a retelling of the same kind of general concept. So we want to come over here before we leave. I want to jump down here and grab the Chrono Scepter piece. And then it's like, you know, the same general kind of like story with changes. And then it's like, from that point on, they end up, you know, if there's spin-off games based on that specific game, then it's like, oh, well then that's just like where they continue the story in the region or something like that. But I'm gonna end the episode here. This one's a pretty long one. Like I said, they get longer. Even just running primarily straight to where I needed to go still took a lot of time, but I'm going to end it here. Appreciate you watching. If you made it to this point in the video, I really, really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.